What's Going on Seaville was made possible through donations and services provided by Roxy Daisy, Eloise,
There's a big white ghost in the brain. It's always on time, it's always the same.
What's going on, Seaville? I'm Lana Young, and we have an extra special show for you tonight. Some of you may remember last year at the CPA TV studio, we had Scuffletown in as our musical guest. Well, tonight we have one half of Scuffletown in the house. It's John Whitlow. Unfortunately, Mark couldn't make it, but John is here to talk about a benefit concert that they're a part of at the Southern on November 4th. The benefit concert is to raise funds and awareness for the Marty Whitlow Ovarian Cancer Research Fund. Marty Whitlow herself is going to be in the house to get interviewed. And you may be thinking, that name sounds very familiar. Well, you'd be right, because Marty is John's wife. We're also going to interview Nurse Paula Rowan Page, who is the nurse coordinator at the University of Virginia Cancer Center. We're going to talk about Marty's battle with ovarian cancer and the experimental treatment that she had while under the care of Dr. Amir Jaziri. But before we chat with them, we're going to take a little trip down memory lane. Last year when we were at the CPA TV studios and John M. was my right-hand man, Mark Carraway and John Whitlow came into the studio to play a little bit of their original Americana. Take a look.
Strong
What's going on, Seville? Welcome back. We just listened to an original song by Scuffletown called Crazy Wind. So this is a good time to welcome John Whitlow to the show. He is one half of Scuffletown. Mark couldn't make it tonight. And I'm also going to welcome his wife, Marty Whitlow, and nurse Paula Rowan Page. Say that 3 times fast. Try it.
Not tonight.
No takers, huh? Tell us a little bit about that original song, John.
We had chartered a boat in the Mediterranean off of Corsica, and when we took the boats out, they had warned us that periodically, it's usually very smooth sailing, but periodically this wind comes in from Africa that they called El Beccio. And sure enough, El Beccio arrived about our 3rd day of sailing. We stayed in the harbor for 2 days, but then we realized, hey, we got to get this boat back. So we risked it and took it out, and about 40 to 50 knot winds. And we said, if we ever get through this, or when we get through this, we got to write a song about it. So that's Crazy Wind came out of that.
What a story. That's fantastic. But you obviously made it.
We did make it.
Did you get in trouble for taking such a risk?
Not really.
From the wives?
No, they were with us.
Oh, okay. They're tough.
They were hunkered down.
They're definitely tough. That's wonderful. Well, I hope that that's going to be playing at your benefit concert.
It probably will. We like to open with that song, actually.
Oh,
so.
Good. Well, let's start there. Let's start with the big C, shall we? Cancer. That's what this show is about, really. And we have Marty, who basically fought ovarian cancer, which I think a lot of women are fearful of. And so here we have you to really take us into the depth of that fight. And then Nurse Paula, you can talk a little bit about the IP chemotherapy and the different treatments that Marty went through. Marty, you're a survivor, and saying congratulations doesn't quite seem to fit, but because you're a survivor, you deserve some acknowledgement for fighting it. So what do you say to someone that has survived cancer? Is congratulations okay?
It is all right. It is all right. And, you know, I guess I just look at it that I was so blessed to be at home and family and wonderful friends and wonderful nurses and doctors at UVA that provided wonderful care for me. And, you know, I wasn't anticipating to get cancer. I was never sick before. So when I got diagnosed, I mean, I didn't even have the flu, common colds, but I think, you know, I was in good health, and I think that helped me through my journey.
You know, I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. How did you find out? I mean, how did you discover it for the first time? Because it's not that easy to detect.
Right, this was interesting. I had gone to the gym, and I had just used the Rowan machine, and I kept telling John, watch me, am I doing this right? So when we got home the next night, I started getting a pain in my upper side, and I told John, you didn't watch me when I was doing that, the Rowan machine. I said, I think I have, I said, either that or maybe I'm having a heart attack, and John goes, it's on the wrong side. So anyway, you know, I said, well, let me just lay down. I took some ibuprofen, and then it got worse. And like if I laid still, it was okay. But then it was in February, early February. So finally, John said, we need to go to ER and get this checked out because you're never sick, you're never in pain. And I'm like, okay, well, this is really weird. So we got there, and they did an upper CAT scan. And he said, I think you have you ever had gallstone issues? And I'm like, no. He said, well, I think that's what you have. And he said, but go see your regular doctor, and he'll probably want to do a sonogram, but, you know, and I said, okay. And so the next morning, I took off school, and I went to my regular doctor, and I told him, I said, you know, I'm feeling better today. It's not as painful. It just feels like I got kicked. And he said, well, I still think, you know, there might be infection. I'd like you to go back and have a lower CAT scan done. And I'm like, okay. So I went back Friday afternoon and had that done. And then got the news I wasn't anticipating that night when they called and said, you have a large cyst on your ovary, and we think it's ovarian cancer, and you'll need to be seen by UVA. And
talk about a kick in the side.
So that's when it all started. And I'm like, why can't I have gallstones?
Right. Bring on the gallstones,
you know, a heart attack's good too. So anyway, but so that was on a Friday, and then Wednesday I had my appointment at UVA, and you know, just started reading about it. And I'm like, whoa, this is not what I want. But you know, so I had, you know, I just read on the internet as much as I could, and then.
Well, let me just stop you there, because I want to talk about your first. What was your first reaction? I mean, was it denial? Was it I don't know, ignorance, or what?
Right. Because I felt fine, and you know, I've taught kindergarten, so I've had plenty of energy, and I didn't have any of the other normal symptoms. That I was aware of, you know, looking back on it, maybe they were there and I just ignored them. But the bloating, the urinating, feeling to urinate more, eating, you know, feeling full, but you know, I just maybe wasn't picking up on them. So
that first reaction was just a bit of shock.
It was. I was like, oh my gosh. And but then, you know, once I got over the initial shock, I'm like, okay, well, I need to move on. Now I have it. What do I do next?
How do you tell your family? How did you approach that? This is really important for people that are going through it, I think, to have this insider information. How did you approach that?
Right. It was probably harder for me because I had just lost my mom 2 years ago to cancer when this all came up, and then once she got diagnosed, she was gone in 14 days. So then I had that in my back of my head going, oh my gosh, I hope I don't go that fast, but because I'm going to really fight this one. And then because she kept saying once she got diagnosed, she said, am I going to fight this? How much time do I have? And we kept saying, we don't know how much time you have. So I was kind of thinking all that in my head, but hoping, you know, I had a lot of time. So, you know, John and I just kind of dealt with it that night a little bit, and then the next morning we called everybody. And then my sisters came over that day and spent the whole day with me and my nieces, and my daughter came home and sung that weekend, and we just had family time. And then I said, okay, here we go, you know, to UVA, and I remember when I got there, I met Paula, and I taught her both her boys, and she's like surprised to see me, and I'm like, yeah, not where I want to see you again, but I'm going to be okay. And so we talked, and then I said, before I saw my doctor, Dr. Giseri, I said, when do you think I can have my surgery? When can I be operated on? She goes, probably not 3 weeks. You're looking at, I'm like, I told John, we sat back down, like, it really needs to happen Friday. Friday they do surgeries. And John goes, honey, it's not going to happen Friday. So when I got in finally to see the doctor, the resident came in first, and he's like, I have a bunch of questions. I'm like, I'll answer everything, but can I have surgery Friday? I hadn't even talked to Dr. Giseri. I'm like, can I be in the surgery club? And he said, and then when Dr. Giseri came in, he said, I just had a cancellation. So I jump up, and I'm like, it's for me. I'm ready. So I had surgery Friday, and I had surgery Friday.
And that might have been where your tough battle began, by taking control over
I think
it so quickly. Now, John, I want to ask you, as a supportive hubby, what your first thoughts were, and how you handled it from the beginning.
It was a state of shock, I think, originally, and then we called the kids home and family over to talk with them. And then you immediately kind of kick in and say, okay, what role am I going to take in this, and what do I need to do to be that support person? And so you just start kind of clarifying for yourself what that means, since you've never done it before. And it starts to emerge, you contact other PIP folks, and then you just move into the role of being the caretaker.
It's just amazing.
And being that point of contact. It was really serving as a point of contact in a lot of ways for the community. There was such a rallying of the community around Marty, and you know, there needed to be somebody to manage that. So that was the first thing, because people immediately started coming in and wanting to provide their support. So it almost happened automatically. You kind of move into this role.
Yeah, you just not really much time to figure it all out. Yeah. You just rise to the occasion.
You do.
Well, Marty, you're very lucky to be surrounded by such supportive people.
Yeah.
So how was your first visit to it's Dr. Amir Giseri, and were you sent to him? I mean, how did you find each other?
Right. Martha Jefferson doesn't deal with ovarian cancer patients, so UVA does. So, you know, I was just given names, and so I said, I'm going to see the first doctor that'll see me, because, you know, they were all booked too. And so...
So at this point, you didn't know that he was on this cutting edge research?
No.
Paula, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about that, because he has discovered, well, he didn't discover, but he came upon this research of a little more radical form of treatment. Am I representing that correctly? And he's continued to research how to make it better?
He is part of a team that's doing that. So at UVA, there are 5 GYN oncologists, and Dr. Jazari is one of the 5. And the University of Virginia participates in a group that's called the Gynecologic Oncology Group, which is a consortium of hospitals around the country. The GYN oncology, the GYN cancers, are really a relatively small number compared to like breast cancer, colon cancer. And no one hospital, for the most part, sees enough patients to be able to get adequate numbers of patients for research.
Oh, so that's good and bad, isn't it? It's good because there's not a lot of them, but it's bad because they're not okay.
So the University of Virginia participates with this consortium, and they organize and conduct clinical trials that are looking at ways to improve the treatment options and the outcomes for patients who are diagnosed with cancer. So with the gynecological oncology groups, with the clinical trial information that they had, Dr. Jazari was aware of that, and once Marty had surgery and then needed to have chemotherapy, talked to her about participating in a clinical trial. So it wasn't exactly his trial, but it's something that he's very actively involved in, as are the other docs at UVA in GYN oncology.
Okay, so let's talk about ovarian cancer. I mean, is it still the 5th most common form of cancer in women? I mean, it's
in women,
quite high up there, isn't it? It escapes detection. So how does one know? Is there any way to detect it early? Because it tends to get detected almost too late, doesn't it?
True.
So what can people look out for? I mean, Marty, you shared a little bit about what your symptoms were. What else?
Well, I think Marty captured it perfectly, and is what we hear from so many people who come in, so many women who come in, is that they have symptoms that maybe they'd had for a while, but they're symptoms that in many cases we all have, you know, every once in a while or periodically. So a sense of abdominal fullness or pain, pelvic pain or pressure, an increased urgency of needing to empty the bladder. Some women will report changes in their appetite, not being able to eat as much as they normally do. Sometimes changes in bowel habits can accompany or can be one of the symptoms. But it's a little bit sneaky.
It's sneaky. I was just thinking that word. That's not fair.
It's exactly not fair.
It's not fair.
So I think what we know now and what we encourage women to do now, because it is such a huge question, and when you've known someone or when you've read about it in a magazine or on the internet, you know, it strikes fear in every one of us. And so the recommendation is if women have those symptoms, any of those symptoms, for 2 weeks or more, then that's probably a time when they need to get in touch with their doctor and explore that more thoroughly.
And is it okay for them to say, I think I may have this, test me for it? Or will doctors sort of be like, well, I know what I'm doing, so no, I'm not going to test you till I think? Can you go in?
I think it's always important to let your doctor know what you're concerned about.
Okay.
And especially, you know, you're going to start out probably with a gynecologist or with a family doctor who would do gynecology. And then if there are concerns that something may be cancer, oftentimes you will be referred to a GYN or gynecologic oncologist. And so I think that you start with whomever your primary care or gynecologist is, and then that would, people often are moved along like Marty was. But yes, certainly letting your doctor know or your nurse practitioner know what it is that you're concerned about.
And what about prevention? Is it even possible? I mean, can you change your diet? Can you, if I run an extra mile, will I, you know, I know that there are a couple of things like well, the chances are higher if you don't have children. Like for women like me who don't have children, I'm not a young spring chicken anymore. So am I at risk, or does it have to have been in my family, or should I be concerned? Well, and is there anything that could help me to prevent it?
Sure. We don't really know the cause, so it's a little bit hard to talk about prevention, but we do know some things that we think have an increased association. So as you mentioned, women who've not had children, and basically what you're looking at is, in that regard, it's the frequency of ovulation, so women who have been pregnant and had a child, during that time they're not ovulating. Women who have been on birth control for greater than 5 years seem to have a reduced risk.
Oh.
Same thing, so you're not ovulating. Mothers who breastfeed, that seems to have at least thought to be a factor. More and more we're looking at diet and exercise as possibly being factors in reducing risk. And then, as you mentioned, the whole genetic or family component is getting more and more attention. So if you have a family member, either on your mother or father's side, that has had ovarian cancer, that would put any individual woman in a higher risk group. There's actually also an association with if a family member has had breast or colorectal cancer, that can raise the risk for women.
This is all good stuff. I had no idea about that. That's really helpful to know.
So those are important things, I think, to reveal in terms of a family history when you're going to your physician, that can raise sort of awareness and observation in terms of screening someone going forward. One of the things that that we have now at UVA is a high-risk breast and ovarian clinic, and it's for exactly women with those concerns.
Oh.
A mom or a grandmother or an aunt or a daughter with breast cancer or ovarian cancer, and might want to know a little bit more information about their risk, and so they would then see the genetic counselor. There are two physicians.
That's wonderful to have.
So there are ways, I think, to help to kind of raise that scrutiny for a woman who has any of the risk factors.
That's wonderful, wonderful information. We have about 5 minutes left, so I want to make sure. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun?
Really?
So I want to make sure that I cover the differences between this treatment that your cancer research fund is funding, or helping to fund, and then I want to make sure we get in some more information about the benefit on November 4th. So Marty, again, strong like bull. Here's this treatment that not many people can stomach, and you made it all the way through.
Yep, I did.
So, brava.
Yep.
Is the good doctor trying to figure out how to make it more, not accessible, but how do I want to say that? Accessible and for patients to be able to stomach and actually get through the whole process? Is that what he's researching right now?
He is, and again, that's a big area of research with the big GOG group that I mentioned. So there are places all around the country that are looking into that. But Dr. Jazari is definitely doing work in his lab to look for advances for ovarian cancer.
And that is what Marty's fund is helping, and we really want to help that fund. I want her to help that fund. So tell me the main differences between because the IP, and I know that you'll tell us what that stands for, I dare not say it myself, is directly into the abdominal cavity. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
As opposed to intravenously?
That's right.
Tell us a little bit of the difference between those two, and then we'll move to the benefit information.
So standard chemotherapy for women with ovarian cancer has been through a vein, an IV. And more recently, folks have looked at the notion of giving it into the abdomen, directly into the abdomen, so that there would be a higher concentration of the chemotherapy agent in the area where ovarian cancer develops, and the tissues that it might spread to. And that's the clinical trial that Marty participated in, so that you got treatment both with a catheter that was surgically inserted into the abdomen and then with an IV in her arm or in a port. So she actually got both types of treatment. But so intraperitoneal is that which is given into the abdomen, and then the intravenous was given into the arm.
John.
Yes.
How can people buy tickets? It's at the Southern on Friday, November 4th. Times, all the fun information you have about the benefit.
Southern has been gracious. They have donated their venue for us for the evening, and we appreciate Andy, the fine folks there doing that. They can go directly to the Southern's website, www.thesouthernseville.com.
Okay.
Buy tickets ahead of time. We've got a great lineup. We've got the Gladstones playing, our favorite rock and roll band. We've got Terry Allard.
Nice, love Terry.
And then we'll also have the Scuffletown Trio.
Hey!
So it's going to be a great evening and great celebration of community and music.
Lots of dancing?
Lots of dancing.
There's always dancing when you guys are around.
Whitlows are involved.
It's billed as the Dance for Life, so
really fantastic.
Folks will come out. It's the first one, and probably one of the first major community events strictly for ovarian cancer. So we really hope folks will get the word out and come out and give us their support.
Good job, good job. And Marty, quickly, where can people support you? Do you have a link to your fund where people can actually donate to the website?
I have a Facebook page for it, and that's through the causes, but then also just directly to UVA, and you would go, that's kind of tricky, but you would go under other donations, and you would type in Marty Whitlow Ovarian Cancer Research Fund. Yeah. So I know when all this happened, meanwhile I'm on the journey, I just kept telling John, we have to make a difference because I must have got this for some reason. So
that's what we love about you, Marty Whitlow. And that's why I have you on the show to help spread that word. And good luck with everything. And it was a fabulous show. Thank you so much for coming and sharing that with us. I think that was full of amazing information. I know I learned something tonight. So give generously. Come out and support these guys on November 4th at the Southern. I know I'll be there kicking it up. I won't be wearing these shoes, though, I promise. So thanks for tuning in, and spread the good word.
Love is the price of gold.
What's going on, Steveville? I'm Chloe Fender and I'm practicing my guitar.
What's Going On Seaville was made possible through donations and services provided by Hollywood Theater Lab, Lighthouse Studio,